live. Oh my goodness. I've got Kimberly and Bex and Mark Molina and Nico Mingo. And I don't know who else before that, so I can't rewind when I'm on my stupid jacked off cell phone. I'm sorry to get all belligerent, but I am so sick of this thing. I guess I should just count my blessings that I have it and that it's working and that it's plugged in and all that good stuff. I got my lights, I got my sound. I want my freaking laptop. Thank you guys so much for being here. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I've missed you like crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm hearing an echo. Let me turn this metal thing upside down and then maybe I won't hear an echo. That was weird. Happy Monday. Yes. We can hear you. Good. And it's not tinny. That's fantastic. Annie Ruler. All right. Sandra, thanks so much for being here, you guys. Please hit that like button. And don't forget that love will save the day every single time, every single day. Please share. Make sure you're still subscribed. Turn on your notification bell to ring if you like. I just want to jump into it right away. I've missed you guys like mad. It's Monday. I think it's November 27th or something like that. And it's still morning, barely, but so I am drinking my coffee, just finishing up with that and then moving on to the agua. Let's see, I think my last video that I made was on Friday, and I told you guys that I'd make something over the weekend, so I apologize for not being able to. I've got good excuses, but I don't want excuses. I love making my videos with you guys. You guys are so much fun. You're the bomb. You're just super positive, and even when, you know, somebody's putting a damp towel on my parade, that's cool too, because we gotta be truthful, we gotta keep it real, we gotta be upfront, we gotta be candid. Without that, we got nothing. So let's just get started right away. Everything I say is simply my opinion and for the sake of conversation, always hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and to be educational. All these flippin' videos to date have been made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And you know me, I don't like to complain. I don't like to talk about my problems. I always like to say, if these are my biggest problems, I'm really lucky. And I do like to be grateful for the problems that I have, you know, like a busy life, a busy family, a lot on my plate, a YouTube channel that I just adore and that I would love to make videos with you guys every single day, like 7 days a week and then some. But, you know, other stuff like, you know, this weekend, I'll just tell you what I was doing. I was raking freaking leaves for like 10 hours. We won't even get into it. Let's try to keep up with you guys too. So part of the problem with the cell phone is that it's so far away and the print is so tiny. And I don't want to miss everything you guys are saying. It does feel like there are levels to climb in the Greek world. So let's just jump right in and talk about that Greek world. I wanted to talk about the Idaho 4 case today and the Kylie Rodney case and some of the comparisons. And some of the biggest comparisons that I have right now to date are some specific parents that aren't really interested in what happened to their children or why. And this isn't to criticize anybody in their mourning process. This is to bring light to the truth. So it's very simplistic and essential that we have information when something traumatic happens. The information itself is healing. No matter how horrible and hideous, the information itself is healing. So people always want to know, like, what happened. Of course, there's the why, but I'd like to say you're never going to make sense of crazy, so don't even try. But right now, specifically, I'm talking about Kylie Rodney's mom, of course, who doesn't seem to question what happened to her daughter. My guess is that she might know. And again, this isn't to criticize. I empathize heavily, but you guys are probably all thinking the same thing if you've seen the video of the interview with Ethan Chapin's parents, with Stacy Chapin, am I saying it right? And the father and the mother of the triplets. And that interview starts with her saying something to the effect of, I found a place to tuck Ethan into my heart and I'm moving forward. And she's very positive and looking to the future. She says right away, you know, she's got 2 children that are alive and well, and she's got to do everything she can to protect them and keep it that way. And that she feels very safe with them at the University of Idaho, which to me is straight up bizarre. Like, your one child was annihilated there. Why would you feel safe with your other children there? That's just me. Again, my guess is that she might well know what happened to her son. So she doesn't need the answers because she already has them. And again, to reiterate again and again, this is not to criticize people in their mourning process. You know, bereavement is extremely serious. Grief is extremely serious. It's absolutely essential that you go through, in my opinion, it's absolutely essential that you go through all the stages of grieving. The anger, the denial, the bargaining. What's next before you get to the acceptance? The grieving, the sorrow. That's the one I always skip. So the anger, denial, bargaining, sorrow, and then acceptance. Some people go straight to the acceptance, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's more like a river that you're swimming in, I like to say, than a linear process. You're going to, at times, experience all 5 of those things at once. And you're absolutely going to be angry. You're absolutely going to be in denial. And denial is a very strong defense mechanism that can keep us going in the most hideous of circumstances. So don't ever underestimate the power of denial. It can be actually a very positive thing, believe it or not. But yeah, let me see what you guys are saying. Let me move up to the screen. Oh, and I grabbed a wipey. What did I do with it? I grabbed one of those things so that my glasses would be okay, and then I just like tossed it somewhere. I don't even know where I put it. Okay. Dang it. Totally bizarre. How can you feel safe? Right on. Yeah, Mark, exactly. Unless you know, you know that you've been given some kind of guarantee. It's really bizarre. She even said that when she was driving away from the campus the night that she picked up the other 2, Maisie and Hunter, what was it that she said to herself? Oh, it's escaping me right now because I'm so flustered that I can't find my eyeglasses cleaner. You guys don't mind if I try to find it real quick, do you? I'll give up quickly if I can't find it because that's just frustrating. But like I said, I just grabbed the booger. No, see, there's just too many things going on. I can't believe it just like disappeared like that. And then as soon as I'm done making this video, of course, it'll show up, right? Dang it. Is that it? No, that's not it. It's right there. I see it. Now, can I reach it without hitting something? Doubtful. Oh, see what I mean? Okay, I give up. I'm I'm so sick of this dang thing not having my freaking laptop. Oh, how can it be so complicated? You know, it's just like lights and a laptop. Okay, I'm back. I'm not going to blow the place up, I promise. Like, seriously, I just needed this one little freaking wipey thing so I can see your comments. Thank you guys so much for your patience with me and my problems. And I like to give credit where credit is due. It was a 12-year-old client that would say that. We talk about our problems. That's what we do. Okay, so now I can see. No problem. Go look. We will wait. Oh, thank you, my dear. And hometown finest. Her family, how is everyone? Hey family, how is everyone? Yeah, I forgot to ask you, how was your Thanksgiving? So I saw you guys on Friday, and then you had Black Friday, so that was the last time I saw you. I was in Shan's live on Friday night. She's been kicking some butt with these lives. I just adore the work that she's been doing. And I don't want to say anything about any other content creators. They're such juvenile behavior and cattiness. And let me get the light. I don't like getting up when I'm on, because then I'll kick stuff over and one thing leads to another and it's like a domino effect. Anyway, yeah, I just want to stay positive. I want to stay focused, and it's just sad to me that people find it necessary to hate on each other. It really is sad to me for folks to do that. So let's just spread the love. Remember, love will save the day. Me either. I don't feel safe knowing my house has a scummy landlord. Makes me scared. There are hidey holes in my house. Ooh, Kimberly, that's creepy. I'm sorry if you actually live in a place where you feel like that. I hope not. You know, landlords are a rough reality. It's really nice to not have a landlord, or to have a good landlord, but those are far and few between in my experience. About to make more coffee. It's okay. We are here for you. You guys are so nice. You're so lovely. Such lovely people. Mr. Chapin seems completely broken. I see it in his eyes. I know that look. Well, and he can hardly get a word in edgewise. His wife has taken the helm. Maybe that's an agreement that they have. Maybe that's just the dynamic of their marriage. But yeah, anybody's gonna be broken. My goodness, you lost a child to red rum. I mean, it's one thing if it's an accident or an illness, but intentional, an intentional by another, like being victimized. So not only was your child victimized, your whole family has been victimized. It's a word. Victimization is a word, and it is the most terrible thing to experience, in my opinion, because it literally takes the power away from you. And we need to hold on to our power. We need to hold on to that. So yeah, it seems to me that the situation with Stacy Chapin is a show. I'm struck when I watch her speak. It strikes me that she's almost scripted. Like, she's not sincere. She's saying what needs to be said, in my opinion. And it seems just eerie and indicative of a much bigger picture with that Greek system, with that university, with that law enforcement department, with that state, the state of Idaho, man. I don't want to offend anybody, because it is one of the most beautiful states in our country, in my opinion. Like, geographically, it's phenomenal. But I know from living in the Pacific Northwest, which I loved. I loved Seattle and Olympia and Hansville and Paulsbo and Kirkland and Marysville and all the little towns that I lived in Washington State. Loved it. But I'm telling you right now, when I worked in downtown Seattle in the King County Superior Court, it was like it was run by Neanderthals. And part of that is because I was born and raised in my early years in Washington, D.C., and the East Coast was settled way before the West Coast. And then the Pacific Northwest was kind of the final frontier before Alaska and Hawaii, of course. But it was settled much later. And you can tell the buildings are newer, the the fabric of the society of like laws are just not as firm and established. That's the word I'm looking for. It's just not as established. So you really have some, again, I'm not wanting to offend anybody, but you have some wingnuts that just run things the way they run it. Like that crap would not fly on the freaking East Coast. I'm telling you, I'm not saying that there's no corruption over there. I'm just saying that there's a lot more checks and balances and it's very well established. So that was my experience moving to the Pacific Northwest as a 20-year-old back in the late 80s. And that was my experience working in the court system and working for a university and working in private practice with health insurance companies. And that's Seattle. Seattle is a big city. It's the biggest city for what, 1,000 miles east and south. I mean, it's a big city. So then you get into all these, again, not wanting to offend, but these podunk areas. And I know Moscow, Idaho has a fantastic reputation for being a cultural hub and a very artistic and vibrant community. But what I'm saying is that they do things the way they do it. And it doesn't seem like a safe place for your college kids, in my opinion. Let's see what you guys are saying. I'm interested to see what questions he has and what they show. I'm very disturbed that the hospital is involved on the participatory because Dylan has some Instagram accounts she follows that are medical. Ooh, creepy. Very creepy. East Coast, whoop whoop, miss being in the South. Someone passed me a message not to go down south. I'm trying to find out why. Like, what is more particularly dangerous down south right now? Well, I mean, to be very cliche, the South has a reputation for being racist, right? But I don't want to get into all these big political debates. I want to stay focused on our cases with, you brought up Dylan, and I put Dylan's photograph in the thumbnail. Yeah, the issues with the university, and I brought it up before, fertility and medical research, the whole thing with trans, and I'm not saying that Dylan is trans at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the other trans, the transplants, that's big business. We talk about trafficking, we talk about substances, we talk about sex, but the other side of human trafficking is the transplants. And when you're talking about trafficking, another element that I almost always leave out, and it's pretty ignorant to leave it out, is weapons, you guys. I mean, when you're dealing with substances and humans, you have to have your weapons. And it just goes from there. It gets pretty nuts. That's where you have military involvement. And look at who the lead detective is in the Idaho 4 case. There's a strong military presence in Idaho and in Pullman, and then weaving right in with the Kopaka situation. I know that I think more than one channel has gotten the body cam footage of the Kopaka SWAT team incident. And, to me, it's not anything earth-shattering. It's nothing new. I mean, the whole thing seems sketchy AF to begin with. You know, we all saw the photographs and the videotape early on, probably, of law enforcement standing around drinking coffee and just hanging out when it's a SWAT team incident, you guys. Like, a SWAT team incident is life-threatening for everybody involved. In fact, there was one police officer that was recently deceased in a SWAT team incident just in the last week. I was going to talk about it with you guys. I wrote it down, but now that was a few days ago, so I forget what state it was in. Might have been Florida, might have been Texas. It was a SWAT team incident where I think 2 victims, the shooter, and law enforcement were all deceased. 4 people. It was very sad. It was Texas. It was Austin. It was Austin, Texas. Because I did bring it up, and the way the law enforcement was presenting the information to the camera for the news, for the presser, was what you would expect with, like, Moscow PD talking about 4 young students deceased, and not just any 4 young students, but 4 of their best students. I mean, Maddie and Kaylee were like dean's list, and, you know, top of the class, seniors, and all of them being in fraternities and sororities, which we skip over that a lot, you guys. Being in a fraternity or a sorority is an accomplishment. You know, you have to pledge and you have to hope and pray that you get in. And that's why people put up with and tolerate all the hazing, is because they're dying to get in. It's a feather in your cap, and it's going to help you in your future if you make it there, if you're not hazed and unalived. Terrifying for LGBTQ and driving while being not white. Absolutely. And they have weird videos, things that could have been done that night at the crime, like travel wall hooks for surgeons that are in war, that you smash them into the wall and they make, I'm not making this up at all. You sound crazy, Kimberly. I'm just going to say it. But yeah, I'm not saying that you are. Let me continue reading what you got here. I got horrible chills watching their videos and looking at their images. She is also friends with Hobo Tactical, which sells big crazy pocket knives, etc. Lots of things on her Instagram account look like pre-planning, but she can excuse it by saying, but I'm interested in surgery because I'm trans, etc. I don't know that she is, but to me, it's kind of neither here nor there. I feel very fortunate that I have a friend who is trans, and it helps me, and she's still transitioning. It really helps me to understand that whole process, because I think it is hard. Speaking for myself, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around it before knowing somebody fairly well that is dealing with that. So, you know, to me, that's a non-issue. That has nothing to do with anything. But, yeah, it's easy to fall down rabbit holes too when we look at people's social media. And I think that in this day and age, a lot of these college kids post things on social media that are hints and clues to some of the unsavory things that they're doing. Like look at Scammy. You know, I'm really wanting to compare the 2 cases, because I think there's so many similarities. And the parents, like Kylie Rodney's mother and the rest of her family, really, and then Ethan Chapin's family, not being interested or not showing any interest in unlocking the mystery of what happened to their child. That's huge. Like, that is usually the biggest driving force when something tragic happens, is people want to know what happened, who, what, where, when, and why. And like I was saying, even in the most horrific of situations, having that information brings some peace. It brings some understanding. It brings a level of comprehension and an ability to accept the unacceptable. So when you don't have that information, when you just flat out don't know what happened, it can be a lot more traumatic. And it seems that with Kylie Rodney's situation, that whatever happened to her is extremely secretive, and at the same time that it's no secret. I'm going to guess that a lot of people know exactly what happened to her, including Mags, including Kate, including Scammy, of course. All those boys that hang out like Scammy's little harem there, all the Nates, Jägermeister, maybe Chucky. And that person has kind of fallen off the face of the earth. What about Trinity Backus and her boyfriend's mother? So Frances Fowler and Summer Fowler, did they know what happened to Kylie? Is that why something had to happen to Trinity? I don't know. But it seems like there's a lot of secrecy, and in order to have that secrecy, you have to have law enforcement as an integral part of the involvement, because otherwise they'd be busting these cases wide open. And I hope that they are. I hope that that's going on behind the scenes with Kylie Rodney. I hope that's going on behind the scenes with Idaho 4. But honestly, I don't think it is in either of those cases. I think that law enforcement is involved and that they're part of the cover-up. And that if they can make it look like Kylie drowned by herself in the car mysteriously, that's their story and they're sticking to it. And if they can make it look like some whack job from another town 7 miles away came over to Moscow and took out 4 of the University of Idaho's finest, they will hang it on that individual. And then all the evil can be tucked away, to borrow Stacy Chapin's term, tucked away on one bad guy from Pennsylvania. That whole story is such, it's so far-fetched. Like, talk about a stretch, you know, coming up with this vehicle that the night employee at the gas station, the A&W, found this vehicle driving fast at 3 a.m. Like, it's a college town. I would imagine that a lot of cars are driving fast at 3 a.m. or any time of day. But for law enforcement to try to say that they just happened to come upon this information because this gas station attendant just happened to come upon it, again, it's such a stretch. And then the whole roundabout way they came to the DNA, completely crazy. And especially when they cannot and will not produce that information for the defense. That makes no sense. I mean, these people are just clowns, like clowns and jokers. Kimberly Walker says, Dana, you don't have to, sorry, I can't keep up. Annie Ruler says, like a dog, got a taste for red stuff. Did all attendees have to stay for security of silence? Attendees, I'm curious which attendees you're talking about. It's not even the right car, Kimberly. It's probably not. I mean, the car, you know, people look alike, cars look alike. It's hard to say. Snell's snickering and Fry's smirking has always been a pain in my butt. Yes, Rachel, that's a very good comment you made there. Yeah, the gloating. Who do we see gloat? We see Chief Fry gloat. We see Scammy gloat. It's it's not a good look to see these people gloating. Like, why in the world would you be gloating when somebody that you supposedly care about is missing or injured or fatally injured? What's there to gloat about? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. People struggling in mental health are incredibly marginalized in the South. Oh, really, Nico? I did not know this. That's good to know. I think the word you're looking for starts with an F and ends with uckery. Cute. I understand the concept is metaphorical, but with the sacrifices that go along with that idea, that has been shown with the connections in Hollywood and music industry. Yikes. It's creepy AF, isn't it? Mark Molina says the girls has to be more cams and ring cams and locks. The girls had to have more security. Yeah, Mark, you were right on it. And still did the dog bark? Was the dog used to strangers? Was the dog protective? Who kept the dog most? Very, very good questions, Mark. You were right on target. Did attendees have to stab once on film to ensure silence? Wow, you guys are asking some really good questions. Let me pick up my Ohio State mug and finish off my coffee because it's 10 minutes, 12 minutes after, 13 minutes after noon, and I'm behind schedule. One sec. Let's see if I can chug. That's a very interesting question, Annie Ruler. Feels like someone took Murphy for the night and returned in the AM. That's quite possible. In both of these cases, I'm still suspicious personally of the ex-boyfriends. My suspicion towards the ex-boyfriends has never completely gone away. It's subsided at times, and I've thought possibly a lot less involvement at times, but involvement nonetheless. Otherwise, don't you think they'd be like making public statements through attorneys, like crying and things like that? Come on. Okay, thank you for your patience with my coffee drinking. Yes, it's my one addiction that I will not give up. Are you getting ready to kick my state's butt at football? Kimberly, are you in Michigan? I mean, that's the big rival, Michigan State and Ohio State. I'm honestly not much into football. I know that's very un-American, so I'll apologize. Yes, Michigan. And Ann Arbor, man, like you can't really come up with a better town than Ann Arbor, can you? Like talk about cool and artsy and, just really really hip town. I no longer believe they were not bound and gagged. Annie, you are so on top of it. So early on, do you guys remember early on when Fry said, or no, was it Captain Lanier, Roger Lanier, that said, I want to dispel the rumors that people were gagged and bound. It was like, wait, what rumors? It's the first I've heard of that. I mean, and that was a red flag to me. Like, so were people gagged and bound? I mean, there's, I think, a lot more to what happened than things happened quietly somewhere in the range of 3 to 4:30 in the morning, and then 8 hours later the girlies called their friends and then their friends called 911. No, that's not what happened. That's not at all what happened. I forgot how to drink and I just like had it run all down my chin. I don't believe that for a second. I think that whatever happened could have happened a lot earlier than when the clock is started. You know, for 6 weeks, there was all the discussion of where were Xana and Ethan from about 9 o'clock until 1:45. I'm very curious if anybody knows the communication that Xana had with her father, where she said that she was staying in with Ethan and they were eating pizza, watching a movie. Was that text or was that a phone call? Because if that was text, that could have been anybody. And I've always wondered if that was just somebody giving him a line of BS that is inconsistent with everything else. And then these inconsistencies, like law enforcement doesn't even try to explain them away, which they should. They should be, you know, syncing things up and explaining why things changed. Annie, I believe you are on target. Stay comment. Wouldn't parents foot the bill to protect their kids? Events happened earlier on both cases. Mark Molina, I think events happened earlier for sure on Kylie's case, and Shan is really, I think, digging into that. Yeah. And that's the first thing any criminal is going to do, is try to throw off those first 48 hours. Whatever time frame they can put in to time before the 48 hours even starts, it's almost like they're off scot-free. If they can have the clock start 48 hours after the incident happened, then your 48 hours happened, so it's really like, what, 96 hours later? That second 48 hours is a lot less relevant than your first 48 hours. I mean, every minute after an event happens, every minute matters. And the more time that passes, the more decomposition there is, the more disintegrated things become, the further away people can get space-wise, not just time-wise. Everything changes. And within that first 24 hours, you have the most important information. The second 24 hours, you have a lot of extremely important information. But if you can get rid of those whole 48 hours, and again, in the Idaho 4 case, we've got the 8 hours of the delay with the phone call, with the 911 call. We've got an additional 4-hour delay with the lead detective showing up. Then we have another hour before Kathy Mabbitt comes in. And then how many hours before those 13 hours? So there's an additional 13 hours tacked onto what might have already started 5 hours ago or more. And another thing that these cases both have in common is the freaking fight club. Like, what is up with these fight clubs? Like, are these kids just so bored that they have nothing else? And a question that I've asked recently, I haven't brought this up on my channel, I don't think. I just brought it up on Shan's live on Friday night, is as far as substances go, are these kids messing with steroids? Because I would think that college athletes may indulge in steroid use to advance with their athletic skills and give them an edge for competitions. I've wondered that, I mean, I know that the rumor is that Ethan was in the fight with the guy who he was alleging was using steroids and had a small sack, shall we say. Is there more to this? Because this roid rage is serious. Like, I mean, how many of us have had a steroid shot for hives or an injury, and your doctor should tell you when you get a steroid shot that you will have a tendency towards anger for about a week. And the last time I had a steroid shot for a knee injury years ago, I was so glad that my physician reminded me of that, because I did. I had a very strong tendency towards anger, and I have 4 kids. So there's a lot of anger at times with the frustration of raising kids. And I went straight to the anger that week. And then I would remember what the doctor said. And had the doctor not reminded me, I wouldn't have put 2 and 2 together. And I would have probably allowed the emotion to just, be a tidal wave. But it's real. Roid rage is real. And it also is, over time, it almost gives you like a frontal lobotomy. It makes it more difficult to function. It makes it more difficult to have intellectual ability and conversation and foresight, and it's a huge issue. I'm wondering, with all of the substances that are coming in and out of college campuses and places like Truckee, how much steroid use there is. And with Truckee, on Chan's Live the other night, on Friday night, I was specifically bringing it up in reference to Scammy, who in photographs, it looks to me like she lost a good 20 or 30 pounds in the 6 months before August 6th of 2022. Like she was a pretty round, voluptuous young woman. And then she got a lot more cut, especially after Kylie passed. Then again, I'll bring up, we've all seen the photographs of her in the lime green thong bikini and in the dress where she's like holding her chest, and she seems to be very excited about her new look. And, she went from brunette to blonde, and getting blonder and getting thinner will give you more attention from guys and girls too, across the boards. I mean, it's just the way it is. So Kylie was blonde her whole life, and she was also very slender her whole life. So she had all that attention consistently. And Scammy, who, like I've said, she was a very attractive young woman, but being more voluptuous with darker hair, you just don't get the same type of attention. So I could really see that element, and possibly, I don't even know that steroids would help you lose weight. I'm just going to guess. I mean, I know they help you get cut, but like, is it like flipping a switch on your metabolism? That would be my guess. And Dylan has changed schools. Well, wouldn't you? Yeah. Dylan is sus AF, in my humble opinion, as is Bethany. I guess Bethany is engaged now. Have you guys heard that? What is wrong with small sack Annie Ruler? Hold rage. Oh, my mood. Roid rage. Oh, my mood. I wanted to yell at people at check stand. That's funny. Some of the past sorority girls went from very petite to big and buff in no time. So steroids would say yes. Interesting, Dana. I haven't noticed that. But also, if they're all into this whole Fight Club thing, the steroids are going to give you a major edge in a Fight Club situation. Dylan or Bethany didn't talk to the victims' families since, not once. Yeah, that's very telling, isn't it? I mean, you would think, even if just a message through an attorney that that would be something important for them to do. I would think, in my opinion. So very good point, H-Town finest. They are young. They don't need to up metabolism much. It's a good point, Mark, except for if they're in, like, you know, a dog eat dog type of competition and they're trying to be the queen bee or the king, the queen. They don't want to be the jack or the ace. They want to be the kings and the queens. So you guys, did you see Drip Drop had a new one this morning? And I thought it was interesting. Again, he brought up the address, 1122 Queen Road, and he played the clip of where one of the law enforcement is talking to Madison Mogen on the phone and asks her, do you live at 1122 Queen Road? And she says, yes. And I thought that was really interesting that she didn't correct him and say King Road. Maybe Drip Drop is right. Maybe there is this whole thing with the address being completely inaccurate and it being Queen Road rather than King Road, and just how that could help the jurisdiction fall through the cracks, right? We were talking about that last week with the confusion of Queen Road, King Road. And like, how does law enforcement even know where to show up if they're not getting the address and the name of the road correct? All the research that I've done, it looks to me very, very apparent that the 1122 King Road residence it has a pathway from King Road back to the house between the two other houses, but you have to drive onto Queen to get to it by your car. So on foot you can get to it from King, but in your car you have to go to Queen. So it might be a moot point. It might be neither here nor there. Like, maybe it's both. But I just thought it was fascinating that that was what the police said, and that Madison did not correct them. That I thought, well, maybe Drip Drop is onto something. Maybe it is 1122 Queen Road. I mean, the kid is sharp. I will give him that. Like I said, I don't have an interest in debating it or arguing it. It really doesn't even make that big of a difference to me in the grand scheme of things, but it is interesting. It is fascinating. What was the locker room? Oh, alrighty. But the officer said Queen Street. Oh, did they say street rather than road? I thought they said Queen Road. Because it is, I'm pretty sure it's road, because in the beginning I did a lot of stumbling around that. Like, I was calling it drive and avenue, and I'm pretty sure it's King Road and Queen Road rather than street. But I think in the video they say Queen Road. I don't know. I'll have to double check. As far as address goes, I know street versus road makes a difference. That's all. It does, Dana. It absolutely does. That's why, yeah, I'm curious. Because if they said Queen Street, then that's even more odd. But again, you know, it's sort of like, well, I knew what you meant kind of thing. Earlier in the YouTube, they said 1122 Queen had too many passings. Readdressed it. Too many passings? You mean like other people that passed away in the home? That would be creepy AF. I have not heard that at all. Let me grab some water real quick. That's wild. I've not heard that. I'm curious about, some content creators have done research and shared that Scott Green, the president of the university, grew up in that house. And that to me is extremely curious if that's accurate. And I did want to talk more about him and his MBA from Harvard, because he does not have a doctorate degree. I didn't think he did, but the last time I brought it up in a video, I couldn't remember for sure. It had been a while since I'd looked at that information. So over the weekend I looked, and he does not. He has an MBA from Harvard, and like I said when I brought it up before, an MBA from Harvard is a golden road that will take you everywhere and anywhere you need to go. But it's unusual for a university president to not have a doctoral degree and to not have a work history in academia. So he has neither. He has no doctorate degree and he's got no work history in academia. So it's interesting that he's in that position as president, and it'd be interesting too to check their budget. I would imagine that their annual budget is probably in the billions. I'm just taking a shot in the dark. It's not that big of a school. Maybe not a billion, but we know that they just bought the floundering University of Phoenix for $550 million. This last August, I think, was when that deal closed. And that deal was already underway when this horrible critical incident happened. So it reminds me of the Watts case with Anadarko being in a big merger with a big oil company when the Watts family was unalived, and the powers that be just needing it to be wrapped up, cleaned up as quickly and efficiently as possible so as to not lose too much money in this giant merger. I used to drive for FedEx. When a house is split into units with different doors, the two doors will have different addresses, if possible, different streets. Queen used to run behind. That is very, very interesting. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, very interesting. Fall or jumped. Another Jack Renzel, aka Blades Jack Wolf, bodybuilder, deceased, weightlifter, dead weightlifter. Okay, so not deceased, just dead weight. New conditioning coach, yes. Scott Green owned that house. Annie Ruler, that is really bizarre. Like, that takes it to a whole new level, in my opinion. And again, this is a small town where there's going to be a lot of coincidences, let's say, for lack of a better word. But for him to have owned the house where this happened, and then I always go back to remembering that the cars were all left in that parking lot in the driveway for like 2 or 3 weeks after the unaliving happened. And then when they were moved to his house, to his driveway just down the street. Like, how weird is that? It's also interesting to me just the way that house and the parking lot, the driveway is laid out, that you can pull right up to the house and it's just gravel. And I don't know, it seems like most sorority girls might be interested in having like a tree or a bush or a plant in their front yard rather than just gravel and cars. I don't know. It's just always struck me as kind of strange. His parents owned it. Interesting PCM. Right. He lived there when he was a kid. Videos on his digital media of fights in the U of I football locker room. Yikes. Scary, huh? And his son is now the president of the fraternity Caden Young was in. Are you kidding me, Television Eyes? How did that escape me? I remember hearing about his kid being a student at the university, but I missed that part. So Caden Young was, I don't know if he was the editor or just a writer for the school newspaper, the Argonaut. Um, but that's always intrigued me, that he may have had information that was dangerous for him to have. He might have been doing some investigative journalism on issues that they did not want brought to light. Where was B's car? Annie Ruler, such a good question. Does she even have a car? Because we know that her boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, that he allegedly had that big black truck that he said didn't run well enough to make it the 5 hours from Boise to Moscow. But then there's stories from the likes of Einan Harsh, and others that a big black truck that looks just like Quinn Kelly's truck had pulled up into the driveway parking lot that night. So yeah, I've never heard of her having a car. Dylan or Bethany? My glasses are not okay. It's a B. So Bethany too. Bethany and Dylan, I've never heard of either of them having a car. Have you guys? He bullied me over a comment I made on a video Lana did on the game that weekend. Hey Gigi. Very interesting. The mom knows, in my opinion. The mom of Ethan. You get into that, Gigi? A comment made. Yeah, it's very interesting to me how the football game is not really talked about. And to me, that seems extremely relevant. That this is a football school. This was the rival school that they were playing. They lost pretty bad. They got beat pretty bad by UC Davis. And when the game had happened at UC Davis against the University of Idaho, there was someone on campus, I think, that was cut with a knife. So, coincidence? You tell me. But the fact that probably everybody in the school was at that football game, and that is never mentioned as for the chronology of what happened leading up to the lives being taken, that's extremely suspicious. Extremely suspicious, because that's going to be a good marker of time, and what time was the game over, and then what time did the parties start. And of course there's going to be football parties at the frat houses. So, the school, I don't think, had that competitive of a football team, that they didn't care so much whether they won or lost. They just wanted to party either way, is what I get out of the gist of it. Okay. Quinn Kelly had to get Dad's truck back to Boise. That's what caused the 911 delay, Annie Ruler? I am so curious what you're referring to. That is wild. So yeah, we're getting close to an hour, you guys. I'm getting ready to wind down and wrap up. I'm hoping to be able to get on tomorrow earlier and do a longer live. So let's shoot for that. I am seriously thinking I might never see my laptop again, so I might just literally have to buy a new one. They're just taking their sweet time. It's ridiculous. Tyler, WSU 5 years ago, apparently shot himself after a stellar game against U of I. With an AK-47. What? That's not even possible, is it? That's too weird. That is really bizarre. So I wanted to talk about perception, because even if people are not like, say, a risk to the integrity of the privacy of the fraternities, the sororities, the Greek system, if there's a perceived risk, then that's just as real as if there is an actual risk. And I'm still not at all convinced about that freaking videotape of Kaylee and Maddie walking down the street with Hoodie Guy from Corner Club to the grub truck. I'm not at all convinced that that is their actual voices and their actual conversation when they're walking by. I've never been convinced of that. It's too convenient to me. It's way too convenient. But it also plants a nice thread of a possible distraction, a possible rabbit hole to go down, that this was what put them in the line of danger, was that something was said to somebody. I told Adam everything. I just don't buy it. I really have had trouble with that from the beginning. At first, I was doubtful that the surveillance camera would even pick up the sound, and I understand that that's quite possible, that an outdoor surveillance camera could pick up that sound. But for them to have been coincidentally talking those words right as they passed by, it's too much, because like the beginning of the sentence isn't cut off and the end of the sentence isn't cut off. It's like the whole conversation happens in that little clip. That to me is sus AF. So on that, I want to wrap up, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Please hit that like button if you'd be so kind, and share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell if you like to be notified. My apologies for being all discombobulated with this, that, and the other. I will try to work with my freaking cell phone more better this week, because it might be more than a week that I have to suffer through this. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just happy to be able to make videos with you guys at all. Even if I can't read what you're typing in there, and I'll try to read a couple more things. Let's see. Bethany had a car got following too closely in Pullman on October of 2022. Very good, Annie Ruler. I did not know this. I did not know that. I don't think I've heard that before. Tyler, WSU 5 years ago. Okay, that I already read that one, but I skipped over your thing, Annie. I'm sorry for that. I'm glad that I saw it. That's what I thought. His brother plays for the NFL. Oh, Tyler Helinski? That person's brother? Huh. Like I said, I don't follow football, so I don't know. But that's fascinating. So have a lovely rest of your day. Happy Monday to you. Oh, and it's, isn't it like Internet Monday, Cyber Monday? There we go. So we're supposed to order all of our Christmas gifts. I will have some Christmas decor. Oh, and I'm going to try to have some jewelry for a giveaway tomorrow. So it might just be a pair of earrings and maybe 2 pairs of earrings. So we'll see. Maybe like a pair of beaded earrings and a pair of earrings that are some sort of weapon. That'll be a secret for you to find out tomorrow, what type of weapon. Interesting, huh? Intriguing for true crime. All right, so take it easy, put your feet up, have a really good Cyber Monday. Take good care of yourself, get your exercise, fresh air and sunshine, high protein, high produce, and stay hydrated, and just be yourself, be kind, take it easy, and get your rest. And on that, peace out. Sending you light, sending you love. Thanks again.